Hi, and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. My name is Lisa Curcio. Today it is Wednesday. It is January 11th. The year is 2023. We are streaming live right here on YouTube. Welcome if you are here joining me live. If you are here watching the replay, I am thrilled that you've stopped by to see tonight's fun fold card. It has a step and a hidden panel, and although my card has a Valentine theme, you can make this anything. But in addition to tonight's demonstration, I have 4 other fun fold cards to share with you tonight, all using the exact same stamp sets. I'm going to give you a ton of ideas, and we're also kicking off the online card class for January. I'll show more about that a little bit later, but I just want to give you a few housekeeping items before we get started. Now, when tonight's live stream is over, you're going to want to check out the free project sheet. That's going to be linked for you down in the video description below. When you click on that, it's going to lead you over to the cutting dimensions and the supplies for the card that I'm going to demonstrate tonight, because you're going to want that. It's going to be nice and simple for you to recreate at home. Additionally, I want to take a minute to introduce you to Gina Curcio Hawley. You'll see Gina's here off to the side in the live chat in blue. Gina is my daughter, and she's also the sales and marketing director here at Lisa's Stamp Studio. She is an avid stamper, and she is here to interact with you and answer your questions and provide links for you, because there's no way for me to keep up and stamp at the same time. So we want to welcome Gina. And speaking of chatting with you, we would love to interact with you, whether you are watching the replay and want to leave a comment, or you're here on the live stream. You'll need to log into your YouTube account that uses your Gmail address in order to do so. So we would love to hear from you. All right, I have one other thing I want to share with you tonight before we start stamping, and it is this. I talked about it briefly last week, but I want to give some more details because we're getting a ton of emails. So many of you have already joined Stamp Studio memberships. And if you're thinking, what is that? Well, it's fresh new content that we're sharing with you in a $5 monthly membership, and you get a new tutorial in your inbox every Monday from there. It's going to include cutting dimensions, pictures, step-by-step instructions, but guess what? This is a non-watermarked photo. We give you full reign to use it however you'd like. Copy it, sell the cards, use it for classes if you're a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator or events. You can do this membership from anywhere in the world. You do not have to be in the United States. You're going to be able to find all the information for this $5 monthly membership, which includes a weekly tutorial, over on my website on the navigation bar under memberships. We would love to have you join us. All right, let's get stamping. I'm going to move those buttons out of the way, and we are going to start by doing some trimming tonight. Actually, let's start with some scoring. There's going to be several pieces that comprise the secret message hidden card. It's really simple, but let's start with the easy one first. This is going to be the card base itself. Actually, the card tent is what I'm calling it in your project sheet. It is 4 inches by 10.5 inches. I did score it ahead of time, but I'm going to do it once again just so you can see me. 5.5 inches is the halfway mark. Now I'm using the Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, which encompasses both the scoring and the cutting blade. They navigate up and down out of the way, which means you can keep them on that clear track at all times. That straight ledge is going to be a champ if you're like me and you can't do anything straight. So I'm looking at 5.5 inches, and we are going to score. So now we've got what's going to be the card tent. We'll come back to that. Next, we have a piece of basic black cardstock once again, and I do recommend that these pieces be the same color. Of course, you can experiment at home, but this measures 4.25 by 5.5, and we're going to do various score lines here. The first one is going to be at 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to line it up against that straight ledge, and I'm going to score at 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to slide that over to 1 1/2 inch, and then 2 3/4 of an inch, 4 inches, and then 4 3/4, which is all the way over here. Now, it might not look like much right now, but it's going to make more sense when it gets folded. And I know it's on black paper and that's hard to see, but I'm going to make some marks for you. So hang tight with me. The next thing is you're going to need an additional piece of white cardstock or another color, depending on how you're putting your card together. For the demonstration, I'm using white, but I have another sample of this exact same fun fold for you in a totally different color concept to give you some more ideas. Now, this is the hidden card that holds the secret message. It's going to go on the inside. 3 3/4 by 9 1/2, and we're going to score in half at 4 3/4. Again, I'm using that ledge to my advantage, and we're going to score. All right, we are all done with the scoring. Let me set that off to the side for just a moment, and let's come back over to what I called the card tent. Remember, we scored it in half. When you're doing a fun fold, make sure that those ends are nice and even. None of us scores perfectly. I'm going to grab my bone folder, and I'm going to go over that score line for a nice crisp crease. I'm going to push that off to the side. Do you recall this piece here? This is what I'm calling the stepper. Now, I know it's going to be hard to see, but bear with me. There is a center crease in the middle of the cardstock. I want you to fold that in half, which is what we're going to call a mountain fold. Again, making sure your ends here are as even as possible, and you're going to reinforce that fold. That's going to be very important for this fun fold tonight. You're going to see 2 other score lines here and 2 other score lines here. It is symmetrical. All you're going to do is do an accordion fold on the front. So this is going to come up, which is what we call a valley fold. And we're going to go over it with the bone folder. I am looking here and here. I want to make sure they're nice and straight. This next one's going to come down, which is the other mountain fold. And again, I want to make sure they're nice and straight. I want this as even as possible. Now we're going to flip it over, and we're going to do the exact same thing on this side. So we're going to go valley fold, mountain fold. All right, so let's go over that with the bone folder. And I'm just going to open that up and just kind of cheat and speed things up a little bit. There you go. The better you crease this, the better the card will stand. And that's going to make more sense for you in just a few minutes. Now I'm going to open this up now that I've scored it, and I'm going to use that silver pencil you all absolutely love when I'm doing dark cardstock. And I'm going to show you where adhesive is going to eventually go. So there is one area here and one area here that is on the bottom. The next area right here and the next area here is where adhesive will eventually go. Now, when you've made this the very first time at home, you may want to add your designer series paper while it's flat. I'm not going to do that for the sake of the live stream, just so that the whole assembly of the card makes more sense to you. I'm going to put this off to the side, and we're going to come back to here, which is the card tent, which is what I'm calling it in your project sheet. We're going to add some pretty designer series paper. This is gorgeous, isn't it? Now, keep in mind, all the cutting dimensions and the supplies are going to be in that free project sheet linked down below for you. This designer series paper comes from a brand new package, and I have to cheat and look. I don't have the names memorized. It's Country Floral Lane, and it's double-sided, so you've got a real cute heart pattern here, which of course you can use for anything, right? Hearts are always in. And then the other side has a real kind of pretty floral heart pattern. This is in the brand new mini catalog. This is the side I'm going to be using today, and I've cut myself a layer of basic white. So I'm going to go ahead and add adhesive here to the back side, and I'm just going to go gently around the outside perimeter. I am using my Stamp and Seal Plus. It is very, very strong, so I don't need to cover every inch of this. I don't do too many things straight, so you're going to see me turn this horizontally. That's going to give me a better vantage point, especially so I don't get my head in your camera view. But it allows me to look for that narrow border all the way around, leaving that margin of that white showing. Now I'm going to flip this over as well, and we're going to add a bit more adhesive. Now, if this is your first time visiting my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell icon and the word all. That's going to send you notifications when I'm live here every single week on my YouTube channel. All right, here's that card tent. The crease is at the top. Remember, I told you I don't do anything straight, so I am turning it sideways. Crease is here. If your designer series paper has a pattern like mine does, make sure it's going in the correct direction. I am looking to leave an equal margin all the way around. So that's going to be on 3 sides now. Now, I know the bottom is not covered, and we'll get to that in a minute. And then we're just going to attach that. All right, so far, so good, right? All right, I'm going to set this to the side for just a minute, and let's come back to the stepper portion. Now, you'll note that I marked here and here for adhesive. Don't put the adhesive there. That is an indication of where it's going to need to be assembled. You might want to watch me first. If you're watching this on replay, the pause button is a wonderful thing, isn't it? So that when you recreate at home, you can work at your own space. And down here at the bottom is where the adhesive is going to go. So I'm going to open up the card so it's nice and flat. I'm going to use my silicone craft sheet. I get a little excited with adhesive and liquid glue. And if I get too excited, it ends up on my work surface and it gets sticky. I have to fight that. Adhesive, liquid glue, and hot glue will not stick to this, which is going to make it super easy to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my adhesive here at the bottom. I'm going to use a nice long strip. If you're not using the Stamp and Seal Plus and liquid glue, just make sure that you know it's going to ooze, so don't get too heavy-handed. I'm going to add one more strip right above it. This is where those marks are going to come into play. Now, I realize that this is black cardstock and it might be a little challenging for you to see, so I'm going to use my fingers. Here and here, you're going to work within the perimeter of here. It is a little bit narrower than what you need on the base, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to make sure that this rested nicely. So I'm looking near the score line. You don't want to compromise the score line because that's going to have to fold. And I'm looking here and here to see if they're about equal. And once they are, I'm going to fold up that bottom flap. That's going to leave this one here. And then I'm just going to push. All right, now here is the back side. Remember that little X here? Well, we're going to do the same thing, and the adhesive needs to go here. So again, using that silicone craft sheet, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put one strip here and another one just slightly above it. Now this time, I am going to fold the card. It is upside down. I want to make sure you see that. I know the card is closed. I know some of you are probably thinking, how's that going to happen? You're going to need to make sure that the center panel comes up in between there. This is where that tenting comes into play. I'm trying to give you a good angle. There you go. And then I'm going to fold this flat. So now I have a sandwich. That mountain center fold is in the middle of the card tent. Then that X area is where the adhesive is going to seal, and all you're going to do is push it closed, and you're going to press. Now that might look difficult, but I promise you it's not, and it has given us this. Now, it might look a little funky right now, but bear with me. So we're going to set this off to the side for just a minute, and we're going to do some stamping with one of my favorite brand new stamp sets. Let me pull out the pieces here. I am using the stamp set called Love Cats. It is brand new in the mini catalog. Any cat lovers with me there? Dog lovers as well, but you know what? We're all equal opportunity pets here. Cats are fantastic as well. I am grabbing one of the images from the stamp set. You'll see one is already missing because I'm going to use it on the insert, which is going to be the hidden message. I'm going to push that off to the side, and I am going to bring in my stamp apparatus. Now, you may not have seen me use this too much, and that's only because I have basal joint arthritis here, and pushing is a little bit difficult. So tonight, I'm definitely going to use it because you're going to see the advantage of it. I am going to put the stamp set case all the way here on the right-hand side because it's going to provide me leverage for the hinge. Now, I know you've got a glare from the camera and the studio lights. I do apologize for that. We are going to take a piece of scrap white cardstock and I'm going to lay it on top of that platform. Now, the platform comes with two of these magnets. They are uber duper strong, okay? So strong that I find I only need one to use it to tack it down. They store here on the back side. I'll just flip that over and show you. One is here and the other one will go here. I put several layers of washi tape on that magnet because it helps me to lift it, especially with my arthritic hands. It gives me like a little pull tab. What you're going to do is you're going to take your image and you're going to center that on the paper wherever you're going to want to stamp. So the stamp positioner is going to be fantastic if you're doing multiples of the card, but they're also great for images like this. So I'm going to close that clear hinge and it's going to pick up the stamp. Look at that. Now, because I've created nice leverage here, so this is nice and straight, this is where I'm going to ink it up. So I'm going to use my black Memento ink pad and I'm going to ink up my image. I like to start with a little bit of a twist, then follow with a tap. I'm going to caution you, try not to tip your ink pad and get your edges because obviously that will transfer to your paper just as if you were using a clear block. So I'm going to go ahead and push that off camera and then I'm going to close that hinge and I am going to press. Remember I told you I don't have a lot of strength in my hands because of arthritis, which is why the Stamparatus is wonderful. Now you can see I've missed some spots and it's not real bold, is it? And this is the beauty of the Stamparatus. I'm going to go back over this. I'm going to add more ink. I'm going to check to make sure my edges don't have ink. They look good. And I'm going to press right here on the face because that seems to be where I'm missing. Now, I know that there is a tool out there for the Stamparatus that you can purchase. Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell it. It's called the Chucky. A lot of people have made homemade versions that really, really help. And you can see that I've not done a good job. Now, I'm going to grab this. I didn't plan on it, but let me grab it. Someone made me a handmade Chucky. So let me show it to you. I have no idea how this was put together. It kind of looks like a heavy weighted glass with a felt bottom. It was a YouTube viewer. I have had it for several years and I love it. So let's go over this one more time. Now keep in mind, you may not have this trouble because you don't have the same arthritis issue that I have, but I want to show you the beauty of this positioner. You see I've got a little miss right there and in the tail. That's what I'm going after. Now the weight of this allows me to rub right on top of here where I need it and apply even pressure. I think maybe my magnet is in the way. It never fails when a lot of people are watching you. It doesn't want to work. All right, you know what? I see there's a piece of lint on my stamp. That's what that is. That's just picking up that negative part. All right, if you don't like hands dirty, you're probably not going to like that part. Again, stamp positioner to the rescue. Let's go right over that. There we go. Much, much better. Now keep in mind, there's a lot of high concentration of ink here, so this is going to have to sit and dry. Now you might be looking at this thinking, well, how the heck are you going to clean that? Well, that's easy, and here comes another tip. I took the stamp chamois, and we sell this in the annual catalog, and I cut it in half, and I put it in one of the clear stamp cases, which, by the way, are available in my online store like all these products. And I left it damp in here. Now, I live in Florida, so it's damp here all the time, so this stays wet for a good long time. Now, once you get the chamois used, it's never going to be pretty again, but that's the whole point. It's supposed to be nice and damp so that you can clean off your stamp. You're going to use the chamois as well to clean your clear area here if you have any ink on it, and just a dry paper towel or a rag around here just to dry off any excess water. And this is one reason why I absolutely love it. Now, while I have this out, let me do this. This is plate number 2. This is why I absolutely love the Stamparatus, because if I'm going to make multiples of these images, I don't have to take this one off in order to put the next one on. So here is my next one. Isn't that adorable? All from the same stamp set. There are hinges here at the top. This is just going to snap right in. Now you might be wondering, well, what do you do about the leverage? All I'm going to do now is I'm going to move my stamp case up here. It's going to be at the very tippy top of your screen. If you've seen my YouTube channel before, you know that I work in a tight corner. Okay, so there we go. This time I'm going to come here to the card. This is going to be the hidden card for the secret message. Remember, we scored this in half. I'm going to come up on that crease line. And I'm going to go over this with my bone folder just because I'm inside your camera view. All right. That crease is going to allow me to make sure that this card is going to fit on the platform. Before I get started, I always like to make sure that my positioning is correct so that I can move the stamp up and down on the clear mat to make sure that it's where I want it. So I'm kind of looking and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. So I'm going to take that magnet and we are going to anchor this down. I want to make sure it's nice and straight here at the top of the ledge. I'm going to check it one more time. That looks good for me. So we are going to do the exact same thing now that we have just done. Now I know I'm just a bit off your camera view. Let me move out just a little bit with that zoom. There we go. I think that's better for you. And let's come back to that black Memento ink pad. So again, I'm going to twist and stamp. Again, you've got those narrow edges here for the rope or the string or the line, whatever you're going to call that. So you want to make sure that you don't overstamp that area. So I'm going to ink that up. And you can see already that I've missed a spot, which is why I love inking these larger images straight up and down, because then I can see where I'm going and where I've missed. I'm going to close this up. And just like before, I'm going to use my little handmade gift and I'm going to go over this image. Now you're going to see that some of the stamp falls outside that image. I know you got a glare. I'll help with that in just a minute. So this is where I use those small grid sheets underneath to protect that image. I'm going to come back over this one more time because I want that cat image a little bit darker. And of course, you're going to want to make sure your ink pad is well inked, because if it's not, it's going to make your life even more challenging, isn't it? So we're going to go back over this once again, and we'll ink that up. And now we've got a beautiful solid image. Again, high concentration of ink, so this is going to need to sit and dry. Let me put that off to the side. Again, just like we've done before, I'm going to come back over to my chamois, and I'm just going to wipe off the stamp. You can rinse this under regular tap water when it gets dirty and just rinse out the excess ink. But I find that these are nice and thick and they stay damp inside this case for, gosh, days at a time here in Florida. Now, when you're not all here, I'll disassemble these and put these back inside the case. You can actually close up one hinge at a time. This other one obviously is a little bit bulky, so you can just take that one right off by just pulling it straight up, and I can stack these on top of each other. This is fantastic for multiple stamping. So I'm going to go ahead and put that off to the side. The next thing we are going to work on is this adorable image. Remember we stamped that? That's probably had a little bit of time to dry. Well, I'm not going to torture you, but I did cut around it using my scissors. Now, a lot of you are really intimidated by that, but I want to go over that with you. Leave a little white cardstock all the way around. I did not go in on the inside. And I did that ahead of time because I was concerned the ink might still be a little bit wet. But what we're going to do now is we're going to add a little bit of color to that heart. And this is where I chose to use the Stampin' Blends markers. Now, Stampin' Up's color combination and coordination is absolutely second to none. I absolutely love this. I am using the Sweet Sorbet. These are the alcohol-based markers. They come in a combo of light and dark. Tiny area, so I'm going to use that chisel tip. And we're going to come right in there, and I'm going to use little circles to try to stay within those lines. Very important when you're using an alcohol-based marker that you let that first level of ink evaporate before you try to do any shading whatsoever. If you don't, it's going to tend to bleed because of the alcohol. I'm going to come over to the darker shade, and I'm just going to add a little bit darker color here just to one side. Now again, that'll need time to process. When you have little tiny areas like this, a lot of blending is really not necessary because there isn't much room to move the color. But just for the sake of demonstration, I'll go back to that light, and then you would pull the dark into the light with the lighter shade. I think you get the idea. All right, I'm going to push this little marker set off to the side, and I know on the front of my card here where I'm going to mount this cat that it needs something to be anchored on. So what I did ahead of time, just to save a little bit of time, is I die cut one of these stitched circles. Now this comes from my very favorite die set. It's called Stylish Shapes. It has everything. Graduated circles, squares, and banners, which are great for just about any card. And I love the different sizes, especially if you want to do some layering. What I decided to do was to take that cat and add it to the circle. So I'm going to grab some dimensionals here. And I'm going to add them and balance them to the back of this image. You're going to notice that the alcohol marker has bled through the cardstock. Keep that in mind because I'm going to show you a Lisa boo-boo, and I want to teach you a lesson so that you don't make the same mistake. I am using my Take Your Pick tool with that paper piercing tool attachment to remove those backings. That helps with those hands. I'm going to add that cat all the way over here to the side. Now, I did do this part ahead of time just to save a little bit of time in the video, but I took a piece of black cardstock and from the same stamp set, I heat embossed the words head over heels about you. Now, that is going to ground my image. So you can see here that dimensionals are going to have to fall kind of in this area. Now, we're going to work on the outside edges in just a minute. So I'm going to put one here, and I'll put another close to it here. Now, I'm going to add this here to the card base. Now, because it does do a little bit of flopping, I'm going to grab one of my clear blocks to help be an additional hand for me. I am going to add this circle here as a focal point, but I want to talk to you about the elevation of this. So let's go ahead and let's adhere this first, and then we're going to do some custom coloring with some accessories for this. And again, I'm very careful to balance these because if you're going to mail this, oh, I'll just leave it. Got a little extra one on there. You're going to want to make sure that you've got a little bit extra postage on here because it's thicker than the average card. And you're going to want to make sure that those dimensionals are balanced. Otherwise, your card will sag when the receiver gets it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mount that right here in the center. I'm looking to keep the bottom of that cat as straight as possible. Now I want to show you something. If we had taken these off and mounted it on here, underneath here, these two areas that don't have anything are going to sag in the mail. But the elevation between here and here now is challenged. So what we're going to do is we are going to double stack the dimensionals on those two edges that are going to fall off. So let me show you. I'm going to remove this backing and this backing. I'm going to grab one more dimensional and I'm going to stack it on top of this one. And the same thing with this one here. While this might look really odd right now, this is going to compensate for the difference between here and here. Now that they're stacked, we can just remove all of those backings one at a time. This is where that tool really comes into play. That helps with those arthritic fingers of mine without peeling. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this right underneath the cap. Now we still have to do that hidden message, but that is quick and easy, and wait until you see all these other cards I have to share with you tonight. Now this area here is a great spot for embellishments. Now I did do some of these ahead of time, but I want to share these with you. These are called the heart pearls. And if you look closely, you'll see that these are a matte finish. These are pearl, and these are kind of like a translucent color. And do you know that you can use your Stampin' Blends alcohol-based markers to color them? I am using the darkest shade, and I am going to use one of the larger pearls. You're going to use the chiseled tip. The great thing about these is that you can add multiple coats of color. Now, because I'm going around the edges, and even some of your gems might be faceted, so you don't want to ruin that brush tip, use that chiseled side. Let this dry because of the alcohol base, and if you want it darker, you can go over it again. Now, you'll see that these others here are finished, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up one of those that I did ahead of time before you join me. Let's go ahead and let's add this heart now over here to the left side where it's empty. That's going to help fill up that space. And then we're going to take these other two hearts. Let's put, I'm trying to look at the direction without getting my head in your camera. And then another here, just to kind of build in some space, to kind of draw your eye up. Now, back side, which is here. Not necessary. I'm going to show you the one that I have created for you, but you absolutely can add a panel here if you need more space. I'm not going to do that on the one I'm demonstrating tonight, because I want to talk to you about the hidden message. Now, I did do this part ahead of time because I wanted to be able to share all these other cards with you in a timely manner, but this is the one that we stamped. I am going to finish the front of this card, and I'm going to talk to you about a little bit of a boo-boo. First of all, I pulled out the wrong ink pads. Let me grab the sweet sorbet, because that is the color of this and not the real red. There we go. They are closely related. And on this, I am going to stamp a greeting in the lower corner. And this one is going to say, "Hi there, Valentine." This is the hidden message card. I'm inking it up. I'm checking, trying to keep it straight. There we go. Now, I have a big confession for you, because this is where I made the original mistake. If you use an alcohol-based marker here, it's going to bleed through here. Yeah. So this is, again, the color coordination of the dye-based marker that can be used for this heart. That'll get colored in nice and easy, just like you would with any other marker. Dries really, really quickly. Now, I did do that ahead of time to show you here. Now, I'm also going to show you this. This is the one that's in your project sheet, but I used the alcohol markers and I had to hide it because it bled through. I just had one of those moments I completely forgot. So don't be afraid of making a mistake, because it gives you an opportunity to be creative. So all I did was use the dual heart punch and just cover up that bleeding through the cardstock for the inside. All right, now we are ready to put this together. Here at the bottom, the flaps were kind of bugging me, so I did these ahead of time, and I do want to show you how they come together. Again, these dimensions are all inside your project sheet. This is the same designer series paper. If you have gorgeous coordinated paper, keep in mind that these can be color coordinated sections, so this doesn't have to necessarily match the top portion here. And we're going to flip that over, and we're going to add some more adhesive here to the back side. Again, as I mentioned, you can add that back panel if you'd like. Do me a favor right now while I'm sticking this down. If you are enjoying the video, it would help me immensely if you'd click that thumbs up button here on YouTube. Our card Can add a gem if you'd like, which is what I did here. And then of course we got the inside of the card, which is my boo-boo. And of course this one, which is the die-based marker so that you cannot see it. Add an additional gem here. Look at the inside. This is going to slide into the front flap of the card. This is the secret message that's hidden inside this card. Now I have found as this card sits flat and you go over it with your bone folder, that little bit of flared bottom, which is what we're intending for, not only provides beautiful demonstration, but also gives you a great spot to put a hidden message. Wouldn't this be a fantastic wedding invitation or a shower invitation or an announcement? Because you can tuck several things here between the back and the front. Now, if you're wondering, well, how are they going to know? I made sure I sized this so that it was loose enough to fall out. Now, I've got this fun fold for you one more time in a different color, plus I have additional samples to share with you. All right, this next one uses Petal Pink. It is the exact same stamp set as this one, but you're gonna see that I did the cat around the top, and all I did was cut off the top half. I used that double heart punch here once again. So we've got that same flared stepper. On the back here, I did add a panel for more space. This is great if you're making a card for the office so coworkers can sign it. But look what I did here for the inside hidden message on this one. I made the inside card colored so that it's really going to stand out. There is no right or wrong way here. You're probably looking at that thinking, where did that come from? Well, that is my second new favorite bundle in the new mini catalog. It's called Conversation Bubbles. I'm having the best time with this because you can add anything you want in here, either handwritten or from another stamp set. And it has dies. Isn't that fantastic? Lots and lots of fun with that. So that's how I got that. And then here on the inside, I added a white layer, some of that same designer series paper and edge, just to be able to provide some continuity. So this is going to slide in. And for those of you that are wondering, yes, this fits in a regular A2 envelope. You're going to notice here at the bottom with those steps, you're going to need a little bit extra padding or a little bit extra postage. It's a fantastic fun fold, and that project sheet is going to make it super, super easy for you. All right, let me show you these additional fun folds using this exact same stamp set. I'm going to move those off to the side. Now, these 4 cards coming up are all part of this month's online card class. It all uses the exact same stamp set that I used just now, which is called Love Cats. I designed my online card class so that you can use whatever you have at home. I always focus on the folds and the layouts so that you can change colors and themes however you'd like. All right, here we go. Now, these 4 cards, like I said, are all fun folds. My online card class is only available for a 4-day ordering window. It starts today, which is January 11th, and it ends on Saturday, January 14th. You need to place a $50 product order before shipping and tax using my exclusive online card class host code. Cute, huh? Look at that embellishment. But here's the fun fold. This tucks and this opens up. Talk about fun. Sign and write on an angle to provide extra interest, or of course you can write and sign straight. This tucks right down inside the card, really, really different. And as you can see, when I designed these, you can use them with any stamps and dies that you'd like. Of course, any color combination. Now, if you want your cards to look exactly like mine, I have a complete list of supplies over on my website. You can hunt and peck from what you'd like or use what you've got at home. The great news is not only are you going to get a PDF tutorial for these classes, which by the way, this month happens to be 21 pages long, because you are going to get multiple pictures, cutting dimensions, step-by-step instructions, and supplies for all 4 of these fun fold cards. But if you're like me and you're a visual learner, I got you covered. You're also going to get a full-length video so you can stamp right along with me from home so that you don't have any guesswork on creating these cards. So you can stop and start as often as you'd like. Love that pause button for those that like to work at their own pace. Here is the last fun fold. Now, I pulled out all the stops for this one because it is quite different, and I cannot wait to share all the tips in my video with you. This little bar here gets lifted, and then your card opens up, and then you have this. Isn't this interesting? Really, really fun. And I absolutely love that this is perfectly displayed as well. You can leave it open. Now, a couple things about the online card class that I want to make sure that you are aware of. The first is that right now it is a celebration, Stampin' Up's largest sale of the year. So your $50 product order for card class using the exclusive host code shown right here on the screen will also score you a free celebration product of your choice. You'll redeem that at checkout in my online store at lisastampstudio.com. I'm just checking over my notes. Oh, and I have one more thing to share with you. All of my card class customers get a private invitation to a private event that I have here on YouTube called Live with Lisa. I do several demonstrations. They get a huge bundle of free tutorials, and I do product prize patrol during that event. It's a much more intimate, smaller group, and it's really casual, and I would love to include you both in the online card class and with Live with Lisa. Now, perhaps you are a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, or for whatever reason, you just want the tutorials. Guess what? I've got you covered as well. This does not include the video. That is exclusive to the card class, but that 21-page PDF tutorial is available for sale on my website. Just go over to lisastampstudio.com, click on online classes and PDF tutorials, and you'll find it there. All right, now, for those of you that are going to stick around with me for a little bit longer, I'm going to do a live Q&A with you. Many of you tell me this is your favorite part. I would love to have you stay and start getting your questions ready. Now, the best way to ask a question is to put a capital Q and a colon and then your question, and I can filter through them and put it right here on the screen. Now, for the rest of you that might be leaving, I want to give you two more important things before you go. First and foremost, head over to my website, scroll all the way to the bottom to the word subscribe. I want to include you in my free weekly e-newsletter that provides a tutorial that's not shared on any of my other platforms. It's no frills. We would love to have you there, but you do need to sign up. Secondly, mark your calendar because I will be back live with you in just a few days on Monday. That is January 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time right here. I hope that you'll be here with Gina and I. If you need to leave, thank you so much for being here with me today. If you're going to stay, go ahead and get those questions popped in and we'll get those filtered out to answer for you. All right, this is the casual part, so I need to move some things out of the way and I need to grab the mouse. And I am going to type in that Q so that I can filter in for your questions and answer those for you live. So let me just have a second here and I'll get that all fancy schmancy going and look to see if those questions are coming up. All right, doesn't look, okay, we do have our first one and I will highlight it here. All right, the first one is from Pat. What do you do to control your scraps? How do you store them? Pat, excellent question, and one I get asked an awful lot. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, and maybe you don't, so I'm going to tell you that first, and then I'll answer your question. I have a video here on my YouTube channel that's called Craft Room Tour. It's called the new Craft Room Tour because we've only been in this studio for 2 years. It goes through the entire room, including storage solutions for you. Check it out, and there's links in the video description to help you. But to answer your question is that, do you see that right there, those white bins? I talk about those in the video, but inside those white bins, I just made it pretty, are accordion bill sorters. You've seen those brown ones that open up and expand. They're numbered 1 from 30. Well, I covered up the numbers, which is like a little Post-it label, and I put the colors of the cardstock on there, and I did mine in alphabetical order. The great thing about the Post-it tabs is obviously if colors change, they can easily be corrected, and all my scraps are in there by color, and I love that accordion system. I have been using that, I've been a demonstrator 24 and a half years, so probably at least 21 or 22 years of the time I've been paper crafting, and I love it. Nothing goes to waste. All the scraps go inside there. That is a great question, and I hope that helps you with your storage solution. And you know what? You're probably going to ask me where I purchased them, and I believe that I got them online at Amazon. I think you can find them there. All right, let me scroll up. Oh, there's lots of questions now. Let me scroll. They're coming in quickly, so bear with me. All right, Judy has asked, what are the dates of your card class? They change every month, but for January, it's going to be today, January 11th, through Saturday, January 14th. And just so that you are aware, It's the second Wednesday through Saturday of every month, and the class changes every single month. So I hope that you'll join us, Judy. All right, some more questions. Sarah has a question. Can the chamois stay wet all the time, or is it better for it to dry out when you're not using it? You know what? It can stay wet. Here in Florida, when I keep it in the case, obviously because the moisture level from the humidity is higher here, it will stay wet in there for days, and I never have had a mold problem. But over time, naturally, a chamois will dry out and become very, very hard. To get it wet again, you're going to soak it in some water for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then you're good to go. But it does not hurt it to keep it damp. I wouldn't keep it soaking wet. I would wring out the excess and just leave it damp. It's not going to hurt it. Remember, it will get stained. That's just normal. Eva has a question. Oh, Eva, I have been here with this one. How do you get glitter off of an ink pad? All right, I am going to turn the camera down because it's easier for me to kind of demonstrate this one. Okay, here we go. All right, let me move those pretty card class cards out of the way for you. And let me bring in an ink pad to give you an idea. All right, I am bringing in that sweet sorbet we used earlier. So the horrible thing, even about lint or glitter, is it leaves a spot on here that you normally cannot see with your ink pad until you go to stamp, right? And then it picks it up and it leaves that little negative spot on your image. So this is where my Take Your Pick tool comes in to be my best friend. Now I'm going to give you a disclaimer. You have to have a very steady hand and you need to be very, very careful. I take the tip. Now listen to me very carefully. I am using the side of it. I am not poking it, just to gently lift it. And then what I do is I take it on a rag and I can just wipe off any of that excess ink. Now, if you don't feel like you have a steady hand, something blunt like your bone folder will work. And you know what? I'm going to tell you what, I've even used my finger if it's a piece of lint because I know that will stick to my skin and be able to get that off. But there's nothing worse than a piece of lint on top of your ink pad, and then it leaves that nasty spot. So I hope that answers your question. Let's do one more tonight. Let me scroll through to try to find one. Susan, I'm going to pull up your question. Do you use something special for that thing that takes the sticky off cards? Do you use something special? Susan, I'm not quite sure about your question. I'm wondering if you're asking me about the Take Your Pick tool. The Take Your Pick tool is sold in my online store. It's $10. It comes with a putty tip, which obviously is going to pick up all the small pieces of paper, sequins, and this end is interchangeable. So I dial this, and that gives me a spatula to get underneath those mistakes, which I love. And then I can dial it and, of course, switch it. It also comes with a dual-ended stylus tool for this side here. But there you go. All right. I think Gina's texting me. It's yellowish, the square thing. And you cut the bat away with the scissors. I still am not following you. Gosh, I'm sorry if I didn't answer your question. I do apologize. Do me a favor. If I have misconstrued what you're asking me, send me an email, give me a little bit more detail. I'll be happy to answer it. I love doing the Q&A for all of you because it's lots and lots of fun, and it gives you an opportunity to be able to be casual in the situation where we can answer some questions, crafting questions that you may always have. All right, my friends, we are all done for tonight. I look forward to seeing you on Monday at 8 p.m. right here on my YouTube channel.